Alright, so here we are at this group home. I'm like 15, and it's for the schmexually, as some of the tarot readers like to say. It's cute, I like it. Schmex. That's schmexy. Um, it was for those addicted, and no. Like, I might be, but, that's neither here nor there. We're not going to discuss that. That's for me and my partner. The twin everybody's reading about right now, dealing with their karmic. Let me know when you get tired of reading for me, and we'll see what we can do about it. But y'all are just, it's mine. Those are. I know you're saying collective. I know that you have every intent to be reading for multiple people, and there are some occasions where like 1 to 5 things out of an entire hour and a half's worth of a tarot reading that y'all are doing right now that doesn't align with me. It's honestly concerningly ridiculous. So y'all know what's going on now. Y'all really do. I can give y'all the actual details so the words are easier, but we'll get to that later. So I'm like 15 at this schmexually addicted camp, and I ran away, and then I came back, and they tried to pepper spray me, and I damaged some property that I eventually went and dealt with in court. I had to pay like $180 or something. Oh yeah, 18. So anyway, I was back with my bio mom at her place, which is lot 27, in the trailer park that she lives in still. So I'm not going to give you that address, but it's real close to mine. It's got the numbers 5 and 1 and 8 in that order. 5 is beginning, 1 is something. It signifies something, like specifically the single numbers, no dual angel numbers. The number 5 means beginning, number 1 means something, and then 8 is not 8. It's not an amount. The number 8 means infinity. So my address, 518, this is where I started, and this is where forever is literally what my physical address states numerically. So that's fun. So I went and stayed back at Biomom's for about 3 months before I was put in another group home, which I was at for about 6 months. It was a level 3 group home. The house mother that stayed, her name was Constance Haggerty, and that there's something about that. I don't know what it is. There's something about that. Names are important. Names are more important than people realize. The names have meanings for a reason, okay? Let's get into my name real quick, okay? My name was Amber Nicole, which is real close to Aiden, and I didn't mean to do that. Honestly, I didn't want to. Honestly, I thought it was gay, coming from the ex-lesbian. It's like me before testosterone. I didn't want to, it was too cliche. I didn't want to do the same initials, but I couldn't pull away from the name Aiden, okay? So I settled on it, and it was a name that I learned at 12 to 13 years old, and it was the first time I had heard that name, but it stuck. Oh, I get it now. Okay, well, it was a little boy's birthday party my stepmom had taken me to, and the boy's name was Aiden. But what's interesting about it is they had me play the Jolly Green Giant, like the Green Man. They straight up, there's a picture of me somewhere, painted green for this birthday party. But that's where I learned the name. So I chose the name Aiden. I did my best to keep my middle name for my father because he wanted to name me Nicole. He wanted my first name to be Nicole. So we're looking at the name Aiden Nikolai. Aiden, I found out 3 weeks after I chose the name and settled on it. I was like, yes, this is the one. Partner at the time, who happened to be a mermaid kind of fairy woman, you know, like Pan used to chase. She was like, you know, Aiden means heaven, right? And I'm like, we were on the phone. I don't remember text or call, but I played it off. I was like, yeah, well, if it's her. But I went and looked it up because I was like, really? I don't know if I believe this. Aiden does the spelling I chose prior to the knowledge in Europe means heaven. Nikolai, for those of you that don't know some of the stories of Loki, is the son of Satan, or one of Loki's sons. So I have named myself on accident, complete accident. I named myself Heaven and Hell, which is funny because I'm a Libra. Funny. Fascinating. I mean, as they say in corporate, interesting. So, back to Constance Haggerty, because of the name thing. I'm getting much better with my ADHD on keeping my thoughts collected. That's a big thing for me. Hi, Squishy Butt. This is my best friend's cat, Squish Squish. And I did not name Squish. Squish was named by my best friend, and her name is Squish, as in Finding Nemo. And she's a jellyfish, and we squish the squish. And Mandy taught me to do that. Okay. Now I need space, please, and thank you. So Constance Haggerty was the house mother for this level 3 group home, and Judy Friedenberg was the main counselor. She was the head counselor. I was doing really well there. I think I only disappeared on them once or twice, and it was to go sit by the flowing river. And they knew where to find me. I didn't go where I shouldn't have been. I didn't. And when I did disappear, the ones that knew me, people that know me, know where I'd go. Or they can link to my energy somehow and come find me. But Judy and I had sat down at the end of my 6-month stint. Biomon had pulled me. She had signed paperwork to have me pulled out of this group home, and I had sat down on the back porch with Judy, and I was like, I'm not ready to go. And she agreed. She agreed. She knew I was doing better. She knew I was doing well in that type of environment. There was more love. There was more acceptance. There was more... Like, Judy was the one who taught me the phrase, I don't care if you date a purple octopus. But I told her I knew it wasn't safe. I knew Biomoms wasn't safe to go back to. And I ended up running away because and Judy told me she agreed, and there was legally nothing she could do about it because I was voluntarily placed into the group home, and I could very well just as easily be voluntarily pulled because there was no court order. Okay, so I ran away after a bit. I don't remember how long that was. I know there was an incident that I was physically mistreated, in which I fought back. She couldn't hear for 2 weeks. She could not hear out of her right ear for 2 weeks, my biomom. I only hit her once. But I also can't, Like, I was 16, 17. I had moved in when I was 14 and a half. Those were the years I spent being physically abused before I snapped. So, for all of y'all that want to say something about that, I ain't got ears for it. I don't. I don't have eyes for the comments, and I don't have ears for the words. You can keep them. I meant what I did. I'd do it again. Does that mean it was right? No. Does that mean that it's something I'm proud of? No. It was something that needed to be done. So I did it. Because I needed the physical occurrences that were happening in that moment to stop. That badly. There was a young man in the living room when this happened. He went to school with me. His name is Chris. Bullard, for that matter. Because I'm tired of this world's game of not naming names. Stop not naming names. Name the names. Name them. Call them out. It is not slander if it is honest. If you carry yourself in that much light, then what are you scared of? Going to court? Oh no. Paperwork? Oh no. Savings accounts? Because that's what it is. You're stacking money away, which is going to gain interest while all this shit's going through court. And then they're going to find out you didn't slander. You were damn well telling the truth the whole time. So not only are your court fees going to have to be reimbursed, but any pain and suffering that you went through during the time that you had to deal with these people saying, oh, slander, oh, harassment, oh, poor me. I got told the truth and I didn't want to hear it. All those people are going to have to pay, basically, the pain and suffering is interest atop of whatever court fees you were paying while you were sitting there telling the truth. Say the names. Stop being fearful. Stop carrying yourself in fear. Walk in your light. Walk in your light. I mean that. Goosebumps in my face, I mean that. Walk in your light. Name the names. Who are they? Who did it? So anyway, Chris Bullard, sitting in the room, in the living room, while my bio mom was beating the snot out of me. So I packed a bag after she got done, and I made it a point. I packed it in my dad's Navy bag. Here's another backtrack story for you. My dad went AWOL out of the Navy. They breached his contract for the Battle Buddy system. He went in with a guy I called Uncle. I grew up calling him Uncle. And they split my dad and this uncle of mine right after basic training before AIT, which was the breach of contract. They were supposed to finish out AIT together, and my dad's like, you, and went AWOL, got picked up drinking and driving, got thrown in the military brig, got into fights in the military brig, and then got an honorable discharge. This is documented. You're welcome. He got the honorable discharge because they breached the contract prior to his behavior. So anyway, I used his bag. I used his sea bag to pack my belongings. And I only put belongings in that bag that he had purchased because I wasn't about to have this woman, who I didn't know that well, telling me I couldn't take a damn thing out of the house that I was taking. And I knew stories about, by that age, that when partners split or whatever, they keep what the other one bought, or when, like, the parents play that game on the kid, or you can't take what I bought, you can only take what your dad bought. So I preempted. I don't play games I don't have to. Not the stupid ones. I like playing fun games. I like playing loving games. I like to go rollerblading. I like to play baseball. I like to play card games and stuff where the older brother doesn't make up rules in the middle of the game so that he can win because he's got red hair and Napoleon syndrome and a smaller so if I can avoid a game, I do. So I packed what my father had paid for, or what I had paid for, and I had this bag on my arm, and Biomom grabbed it from behind me and pulled me and the bag down to the floor, threw me down. So that was really the last time that I was in her house on a regular basis. That's when I ran away. I spent 2 weeks roaming the streets, and if you know anything about trailer park neighborhoods, so I grew up in Rockwall, which is a rather middle-classy, white-collar, Bible-thumping hypocrite kind of place. Trinity, as my dad would call it, North Kakalaki. That was a big change. That was a big change, which I was okay with. That didn't seem to faze me as far as the type of abode I lived in. The fact that we were in a trailer park didn't change that. I understood money's a thing kind of deal. But either way, if you know anything about trailer parks, you know most of them split at the beginning of the park. Like there's some kind of entrance, and then the road splits, and you've got one side that's kind of lower class, trying to make it in the world, literally pretty honest people. And then you've got the other side that's got some honest people, but there's also the ones that make the meth and whatever. That's where I hid. I hid in their cars overnight, and I'd go to school during the day. I felt safer. As hard as that may be to a lot of people to hear, that side of the trailer park legitimately felt safer. And I snuck into the cars at night. I'd close the doors real slow, so it wouldn't wake anybody up. I'd set an alarm on my little flip phone for stupid early, so that I'd be out of the car before the lights came on in the houses, and I'd go to school. 2 weeks later, I got picked up at school. ISS, mind you. I was in school suspension the day that I got picked up by the police. I don't remember what for. It was dumb shit. It was social dumb shit. And then shortly thereafter, I ended up in the foster care system as a ward of the state of North Carolina. And I was placed in a foster home. And my dad found out, and I talked to him from the phone at the foster family's house, and he's like, "What are you doing in foster care? You got a home here." I'm like, "I was trying to make it work with Mom." And he was like, "Okay." And I stayed at the foster home for about a month, but there was something off about them, so I'm glad I'm out there. We can discuss that later. But like, yeah, a month or two into being in this foster care, I was like, "Okay, Dad, yeah, come get me." And he did. And when we got into the courtroom, the judge looked at me, looked over the paperwork, looked at my delinquent record, looked at my biomom, looked back at Dad, and was like, "What's going on here?" And Dad's like, Well, I really don't know why my daughter's in foster care because that woman over there ain't got custody of her. And the judge looks back at all the other stuff, realizes what's going on, because I forgot to mention way early in that first video, Dad got full custody. Bio mom got visitation rights. In 1989, in Rockwall, the father got full custody of a son and a daughter. Okay, so judge looks over the paperwork, looks back at Dad, looks back at me, and goes, "You stay in this state for 2 weeks, I will lock that woman up." And he pointed to my mother. And I said, "Consider this her get out of jail free card for giving birth to me. I want to go home." So Dad brought me back here, and I was about 17. I was 16, 17. A lot, so much goes on within 1 year of my life that it is difficult to keep up with sequential. That's why I mentioned it in the first video. It's just, there's so much that happens in 1 year for me. And as we get into the older years, my most recent years, you'll start to see that because I have more sequential memory logged because it's fresher. So that's another one we need to backtrack to. When I was 15, before the group homes, so the first injury would have been 3rd grade. I remember the 6th grade bullshit now, that I had said we'd come back to. Something happened in 6th grade. That was in between the summer of 5th and 6th grade. I got stitches in my left foot from the Omni Hotel down in San Antonio, Texas. We had gone to the Alamo. The last time I had been, I was 3 or 4, according to Dad. And the second time I had been to the Alamo at the point. Brother and I wanted to go swimming. First thing in the morning. We didn't know we had 2 days. We had gone to SeaWorld the day before. Dad didn't tell us the second day was kind of a surprise. So we pushed and got to go swimming. First thing in the morning, and I ended up slicing my left foot open on the little cylinders at the bottom of the deep end. There was a rusted bolt. I had gotten out of the pool. My brother, older than me, claimed the shallow end and was like, "No, you go to the deep end." And we were playing catch with a ball. And the ball sunk, and I went down and got it, and when I pushed off was when it happened. I didn't feel it. What I felt was about a third of the way up. It felt like water was like going into the bottom of my foot, and I'm like, "What the f*** is that? That feels weird." So I got out of the pool and pulled my foot up and looked at it, and it was white. It was a white markings for 2-3 seconds. The 3 seconds that feels like forever. And then it was a pool of blood about yay big under my foot. And I'm like, "Oh!" And my brother's over in the shallow end sitting there going, "Oh, you're exaggerating, get back in, shut up!" And luckily for me, a nurse was working out in the hotel's thing behind the glass walls and saw me and came rushing out, kind of put together what was going on in this situation, looks over at Ray and goes, "Are you her brother? What are you doing?" She like got onto him, and I've got blood gushing out of my foot, y'all. And I'm sitting here laughing at my brother for getting in trouble by this nurse because he didn't fucking listen to me. I ain't even worried about the blood. What blood? That motherfucker's in trouble. I told you. So we get towels around my foot, and I go to the hospital. And we're sitting in the I'm on the bed in the little regular doctor's office. It's not like an emergency room surgery place kind of thing. It's like a regular like a hospital room doctor office. and we're waiting on the nurse to come back in, and I'm staring at my foot because, like, it's kind of hard to focus on anything else at the point. It's like, what? And I'm staring at it, and it looks like this. It's like this H. Hang on, do I have a pen? I should have a pen. I usually. Yeah. Alright. So, it's like the bottom of my foot, and it's like this H. Except it's up top. Like this. And this is what this slice looks like on my foot. I don't know if you can see that one. That one's kind of light. Okay? And I'm staring at this going, huh. Mommy! Mommy! And I did. I looked at my stepmom. I was like, Mommy, next time the nurse comes in, if we ask her for a pen, we can play tic-tac-toe till the doctor gets here. Because I knew it was going to be a while. And I was fucking bored. And that was the first time I saw this look of concern. It's probably not the first time it crossed her face, but it's the first time I recognized it. There was a look of concern on that woman's face for my mental sanity and acuity. Seemed perfectly logical and reasonable to me. It was like God provided me an almost tic-tac-toe board, and I'm bored. So I get stitched up, and we go back to the Omni Hotel, and we're up in our room. And this is the first time it starts dawning on me that my first crush was Jessica Biel. Except it didn't really dawn on me. What happened was this long, definite, effeminate, but what my generation called me in high school, and I called myself, was dyke. And I'm sitting on my hotel bed. Dad, I think, answered the door to our hotel room, and this blonde woman walks in with this silver tray on her hand, and I'm just like, oh. But I didn't realize I was going, oh, in that manner. I was 11. She walks in with this silver tray and places it on the bed and pulls the thing off, and it's the 2 giant hotel cookies, 2 goblets of milk, I assume one for me and one for my brother, and a little card. And having grown up in the household that I grew up in, I didn't reach for the cookie first. I took the milk and the card. Like, I took a sip of milk before I read the card. But the card said, we're sorry for da-da-da-da-da, we hope you enjoy the rest of your stay. And I'm just, like, sitting on the bed, like the judge, almost, when Dad was found out to have full custody of me, while I was a ward of the state under somebody else's name. But I did. I looked at the card, and I looked at the goblet of milk, and I looked at the cookies, and I looked back at the card, and I looked at my dad, and I went, is this them begging us not to sue them? And he stifled, poorly stifled, a chuckle, and said yes with a grin. And I was like, are we gonna? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay. And I went to eat my cookie. But I had already had the information prior to receiving that card. I had already had the information that they covered the hospital tab, and I think they comped our stay. So the balances out. They comped our stay. They covered the hospital tab. And I had a wonderful sight when I got back from the hospital, because there's all this caution tape around the swimming pool. And I'm like, you guys, like, I am hobbling. I've got stitches in my left foot. Walking back into this hotel, seeing this caution tape going, you guys, look what I did. Look, I did that. I'm the reason that's there. And then we went back up to the room, and that's when I got the card. So that was the physical injury in 6th grade. So we've got 18 months old, and then 9 years old. I don't know if there's anything between that. I'll let y'all know if I recall. And then at 11, 12 years old, the stitches. And then when I was 15, I was riding my bicycle. I hadn't eaten breakfast. And a kid said something that pissed me off, but I don't remember what it was. And I was going down the hill, and this is the trailer park at my bio mom's, and there was this huge, really steep, fun on bicycles and rollerblades hill that went like that. It was a U shape, and I went down the hill, and then I like blacked out, like I passed out on my bicycle. And I'm like 15 years old. And next thing I know, I'm waking up screaming, "I'm gonna kill you!" in the hospital while they're putting the 3rd staple in my head, because apparently they asked me if I wanted the anesthesia. They didn't ask my bio mom, she didn't have custody. And I told them no. So I woke up to the 3rd staple being placed into my skull. And this one's fun for you. This one may give y'all some insight on the way my brain works. I create while I sleep, and I don't know it. That's what I'm doing while I'm sleeping. Like, I can create while I'm awake, manifest things energetically, but if I am dreaming, I create while I'm dreaming. I do things while I sleep. Like Peter Pan. That's going to be a fun one to get into. That's schmexual. If y'all haven't correlated everything about Peter Pan, some of it is schmexual, some of it is old school alliances. Like we're talking actual history is wrapped up into Peter Pan. Hook is Italy. Go look at a map. It's shaped like a hook. And then we've got the the Statue of Liberty was gifted by France, which is Italy. Now, you get into the Peter Pan story. Peter Pan cut off Hook's right hand. What do you do with your right hand? You write, you sign treaties, you make agreements. Peter Pan cut off Hook's right hand, which means that he stopped him from making treaties and deals with other countries. Hook is Italy. You're welcome. So, anyway, back to, I'm 15-year-old-ish. I've got a 3rd staple going into my head. It was here. I was told that I took a paper-thin chunk off the rock larger than my head. And this was by multiple kids in the neighborhood. The first girl that found me after I had wrecked went and got my biological mom's boyfriend, Tommy. He came down. There were probably other parents around at the point. I was told there were other adults. There were at least 3 adults and some kids that were standing around me, bleeding out of my skull, waiting for the ambulance to get there, and they were trying to keep me coherent. And I'm gone. I don't remember any of this, okay? But they asked me questions. Like, I woke up while they were trying to put the collar on me. I wasn't okay with that. I fought that in the ambulance. But beforehand, the neighbors or whatever, my bio moms, were asking me questions to keep me coherent. And they're like, "How's your hometown back in Florida?" And I'm telling you, I'm unconscious. And my response was, "Get it right. I'm from Texas." I'm so like, and this is again back to the sleeping thing. I am honestly fully coherent while I am sleeping. I'm actually coherent. I actually know what's going on with my body, even though my frontal lobe isn't correlating it. Even if I don't remember it, I know what's going on with my body and I respond to it. They said that I was asking about my dog, my bike, and my dad, and I needed to know they were okay. And that was it. Like, it was like, and mind you, my dog's was here in Texas with my dad, for that matter. So, like, here I am concerned about, is my bike okay? Okay, good. What about my dog in Texas and my dad in Texas? Are they okay? Cool, then I'm okay. So I wake up to the third staple getting put into my skull, and I let them know that I would have their heads on a platter, basically. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to press charges." Well, thankfully, my aunt, who is an RN now, she was in the room. She was in the emergency room with me, and was able to first and foremost vouch about the whole when you're not consciously aware of what you're saying in those medical emergency situations. So they weren't allowed to do anything about it. And then when we got home, my bio mom told me that if we had wanted to dye my hair red, we could have just bought hair dye, because she had to clean the staples, and it's just like matted, because funny story, they predicted, that was a prophecy of what Jesus would look like, not what he did look like. If I grow out my beard and I grow out my hair, I have pictures I could show y'all of long hair, and if we splice it with one where I've got a beard, y'all just have fun with that. Y'all have fun with that. No AI. Fuck AI. AI has led to the removal of the lives of children. There will be no more AI. We're done with AI. AI is advanced computing, is set to create on its own, and we barely understand our own creation capabilities, and we think we ought to create something that creates. Cute. No. AI is done. So anyway, have fun with your photography programs, because I don't know how to do all that shit. There will be no image rectifications on mine, on my videos. You can have me as I am. So, yeah, 18 months, possibly something in between, 9 years old, 11 or 12, I think I was 11, 15 or 16 was this, and then it was the group homes, and then the foster home, and then the military. I had come home with Dad from the court date where bio mom got her get out of jail free card. The woman who hadn't been paying child support, for that matter, signed a plea deal over the last 5 years at some point to not pay the rest of whatever she owed. uh, which Dad was splitting between my brother. Like, the money's coming to me. Like, I don't know if that's always been the case or whatever, but what I know is that when I've known about the money appearing, Dad made no qualms about splitting it directly in half and giving it to my older brother and myself. And this is like my older brother and I share the same two parents, so it's not just as much his as it is mine. So I've only had a problem with that happening one time, and that one time was this time. And that was because I had spent my year working. No, I was going to school. I was in college for carpentry of my own volition. The goal was major in carp, as in residential building, builder of homes, builder of houses. And this is what I was like, this was where my gut was leading me, man. I didn't look into the Bible and go, oh, builder of homes, I want to be like Jesus, I'm going to do that. No, I sat and thought for a while, and I was like, what's never going to go out? What are we never going to not need? Because we're talking about my career. We're talking about what am I going to do with whatever I'm going to school for? What is something that we're always going to need? Houses. So that's what I went to school for. And I wanted to minor in psychology. So that's what I signed up for. So I was going to college for carpentry and psych. And, oh shit, no, I need to backtrack. Military. I was 17. And I joined the Army, and Dad signed off on it because I had come back here from the court date where Biomom got out of jail for free. And I was a junior in high school. I hadn't finished. I was going to Rockwall at the time, but that was my fourth high school, because I went to 3 separate high schools out in North Carolina over the course of ages 14 and a half to 17. I was at 3 separate high schools. And then I came back home, and I went to Rockwall and joined the Army, and ended up doing the Split Ops program, where you do boot camp, and then you go do your senior year in high school, and then you go back and do AIT the following summer. I didn't finish my 11th grade year. I found this chick online, and I told my recruiter I needed to transfer to Alabama. And I did, and they placed me in a retired guy's house, a retired military. So I ended up hanging out with his kids, who happened to know the chick. Because the chick that I was going for, friends with this daughter of the military guy, I got to get it set up to where I would be stationed in that town. And I pre-arranged with the family that I could stay with them and still go do my weekend drills and stuff like that. So I did that before basic, and then I went to basic training, and I got a failure to adapt, which basically meant I couldn't be turned into a robot. That's what that means. Failure to adapt. I did not adapt to being yelled at and told what the fuck to do when it was dumb. And we're going to backtrack to MEPS, which is where you enlist. That's where you go to get your physical body checks and take your academic exam and stuff. And the reason we're going to do that is because I didn't choose the MOS I should have. And I'm glad I didn't, because I chose the MOS I should have. I didn't study. I don't even remember looking at the cover of an ASVAB book to study. I also have a 3.842 in college, or from the carpentry and academic stuff that included psychology classes. But this was before college when I took the ASVAB. I was 17. I was 1 point off from being a medic. I got to the recruiter's office. He said, hey, you score, da-da-da-da, you can pretty well be anything you want. What do you want, kid? And knowing that it runs in my blood, knowing that I'm going to have basic genetic coding to where it's going to come like natural to me, I was like, medic! And he was like, oh, you're 1 point off. And I was like, damn, guess I should have studied. And he went, you didn't what? And I went, I didn't study. And my brain, while that was stuttering out of my mouth, my brain was like, well, I didn't stutter neither. And he was like, well, can you please go retake it and be military intelligence? And what I heard at 17 was, well, that sounds like a bullet to my head at the end of my career. What do you think I am? Dumb? It's like, what was my score? Won't you look back at my score and then ask me that again? Really? Cute. So anyway, I was like, no, I'll take logistics, which I knew I would work well with because it's keeping track. It's being OCD. I'm OCD. That's on paper. I'm special on paper. What's their excuse? Keep up with the special kid, y'all. So I turned down military intelligence. And I took logistics. Then I got a failure to adapt, which turned into an honorable discharge, similar to my dad, out of the Navy. So I can, yes, go re-enlist. Am I going to? That's my bio mom's laugh for you. They're cute. So I got out of the military, and I went, while I was running away, I had gone and stayed with this pagan high priestess woman. And she's taught me how to start doing a little bit of energy work, got me into a little bit of that side of things, which I had already gotten into because my bio mom, when I was 15, she worked at a Greek restaurant for a Turkish guy, Mehmet, which translates to Matt, which is what he told us to call him, was Matt. But I was the busboy and the dishwasher, and I'd help mom. I'd help my bio mom prep, and then I would take over dishes and stuff and bus. And he let me keep the tips, and he paid me under the table. But after lunch rush, they didn't need me, so I'd go across the parking lot in High Point, North Carolina, to their main library. And I did the most ingenious thing you can do to learn. I picked the books up off the shelf and I went and found me a hidey hole and I sat down and I read. I didn't check these books out. There's no documentation of me checking these books out. So Biomom didn't know what I was reading. But what I was reading was Buddhism and paganism and Satanism and Hinduism. And I didn't get far into many of them because pagan caught me. And I read a few different books. Silver Ravenclaw Wolf was one of them. And I took it with a grain of salt, as I do almost everything. So I was already into the pagan stuff before I met this pagan high priestess that took me in while I was 16, 17, running away before I was a ward of the state. So then we got the military, and then when I got out of the military, I went and stayed. Where did I stay? I was 17. I think I came back here. Because that's what my ticket said. That's where they had to send me. Because that's where I was originally stationed, was Grand Prairie. And that didn't last long. Because I was staying at my dad's, and Dad's like, and I knew they weren't his words when he said them. I knew they were my stepmom's. But he said, you gotta be a straight Christian or you gotta leave. And I was like, I love you, Dad. Bye. And I walked. Legitimately, I walked. And that wasn't the first time I walked. Because I had run away after Biomom had kicked me out when I was about 15. It was a really bad snowstorm that year in North Carolina. It was 2 weeks. People were out without power. I was 15, so that would have been 08, 2008, 2003. It would have been 2003 that I walked like 5 miles in the fucking snow in a hoodie, a tank top, a pair of khakis, and Converses. Play me. See what I'm willing to do. I triple dog dare them. I walked 5 miles like that on my own at 15. So anyway, at 17, yeah, because this was like, because it was September when I signed my discharge papers out of the Army. And then I was back at Dad's, and then he kicked me out, and then my ass, staying on the street, not long, fucking couple of days, this chick walks up to me, and I will keep their name private, but I call her Sissy. She is my adopted Sissy. She knows who she is. She will always be that to me. She came up to me. She was like, you raised little sister? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, we know what's going on. You're coming home with me. And I'm like, okay. Not like I had anywhere else to go anyway, so I rolled with it. And they took me in, and I'm still in contact with them. That was 20 years ago. Legit 20 years ago that they took me in. And that's when I joined the military. And then where did I go? I came back. After the military, and then I went to North Carolina. And I stayed with the pagan high priestess again. And then I re-enlisted in 11. No, that was... Let's see. What did I do? I had dropped out of 11th grade here. Restarted 11th grade out there. at the pagan high priestess's house at a school named Andrews out in High Point, North Carolina. And it wasn't 2 weeks into my class time there, and I think I started late, to be honest. To top it off, I was already a late arrival, but I had me and her oldest son Gio had a proclivity for palling the streets at night. We'd stay up till 1, 3 o'clock in the morning and then get up and go to school the next day. But because we were walking the streets in the middle of the night and going to the local Carolina diner for coffee and french fries, I carried a knife because it was 3 o'clock in the morning when we were walking home most days. I'd forgotten to take the knife out of my pocket, so it was in my pocket on my way to school the next morning. So I stowed it in my bag, and then some chicks that didn't like me in our class where we learned Spanish turned me in for it, pretty sure. And they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna get you're gonna go to the alternative school." And I'm like, "Well, do I get my honors classes there? Because this is the first year a school has looked at me and given me honors classes." It was a hood school. And they looked at my grades and they looked at my classes and they're like, "Why aren't you in honors?" And I'm like, about that. You'll see. Got nothing to do with my grades. So they put me in honors classes. 2 weeks later, I get kicked out of the school and they're like, "Alternative school." And I'm like, "Yeah, honors classes." And they're like, "Yeah, no." And I'm like, "Okay, I turn 18 in 2 weeks. I'm dropping out. Stop me." So I dropped out. And then 3 months later, I had my GED sitting in my hands with the highest reading scores Randolph County, North Kakalaki had seen in 10 years. And I went, "They what? Oh, we're fucked. I ain't even from here and I'm the best you got in 10 years. And I know I ain't Einstein. Oh, we're fucked." And that was pretty well my reaction. It was not a response. That was my reaction. So I got my GED. And then I was still staying at the high priestess's house. My bio mom got her GED the same year. I was in classes with her. It was great. Let me tell you how wonderful it felt. Like, I'm proud of her. I am glad she did it. But in the moment, at that age, watching her struggle through it, while I've never had an issue with academia, not like that. That was hard to see because those are my genetics. And I have to accept that they're my genetics. But that also means I have to face that doesn't necessarily mean I'm the same. That just because she has difficulty in these things doesn't mean I do. Like, really what made me feel that way was a prior instance where I had been 15-ish. And she was like, from the living room, and I'm in my bedroom, all hidey-holed up. And she basically, not negatively, but hollers, "How do you spell respect?" And I was just like so dumbfounded that she even had to ask that I actually like embodied the song. I was like, RESPECT? And I was just trying to correlate in my brain how this woman of her generation would have grown up having heard Miss Aretha Franklin sing the song Respect, and need to ask her 15-year-old child how to spell it. You do what? It's like asking me the ABCs after you got done singing the damn song. So when I've got this woman earning her GED with me, it was a little like, I'm just gonna hide I didn't go to my ceremony. because I wasn't gonna walk across the stage with her. I wasn't gonna have that. So I go back to the high priestess's house, and a few weeks later, the same, I don't know, a little while later, the same chick that happened to have pierced my nipples at home while straddling my lap doing so. She pierced the left one first, and then a year later pierced the right one. Because this is what I do. That I did. I did that tattoo myself. Okay, this is just what I do. I do things. I decide to do things, and then it's done. It's like, oh, this sounds great. Let's do it. Okay, all done. The chick that pierced my nipples came over, and she's like, yo, I want to smoke. And I'm like, yeah, same here. I got money. And she's like, I got the link. And I want you to meet them anyway. So here I am, 19 years old, and I meet the woman that ends up now being my, what we called, we claimed marriage for 5 years. But I met her, and that's a story in and of itself, because a year prior, I had been in the very house that I met her, doing cocaine for the first time in my whole life. And I did it, it was like, I've done it twice. It was the year before I got with Andrea, and then shortly after we split up, I did one line or whatever, as it's called, and I haven't done it since. But that first time was in the house that I met her. And this dude named Doc, dude goes by Doc, told me, once you do this, there's like your life is going to change forever. I don't think he knew what he meant. Most people don't know what we mean when we say things originally. I probably don't know half of the shit that's coming out of my mouth right now and how it's going to link up for everybody. But this needs to be done, and I'm not going to apologize for the time. The time is going to be what it is. I'm tired of watching y'all's tarot readings, and not in a negative way. It's just hitting that point where you go, okay, this needs to stop. That's I got it. It's enough. We can take some steps now. So this is going to take a bit of your time, and it already has, and thank you to those who have the mind to listen, because I'm ADHD as fuck. I've also will be pre-flagging these videos as not for children. Nobody under 18 needs to be watching this. This is way too much. So I did coke that night, or that day, technically, and it was numerous, like, don't count. So it was numerous lines. Like, I don't know how many hits I took, but I was foobarred enough to be chill for the first time in my life. Like, I was lackadaisically rolling a skateboard, sitting on a couch, rolling a skateboard back and forth under my, like, with my feet. And then this trash can caught on fire across the room because somebody dumped an ashtray. And I just stared at it like, oh, that's a thing. And, I didn't go back. Like, I had met the chick I was with, Sammy, at a football game with the foster brother, Gio. And not real foster brother. This is the pagan high priestess's oldest son. That I took. I have claimed him as my brother because his mom took me in. And him and his two younger brothers all have the same initials, J-A-D, Jad. But Gio had gone to a football game with me, and I met this chick Sammy, and I'd gone with her to that house, and gotten stoned or whatever, gotten high off of cocaine. Excuse me. And then I went home with her to her house, and I woke up next morning going, I need more of that. And then I went, oh shit, no. And I didn't touch it again until my ex-wife Andrea and I broke up. And it was offered to me within a month time span of her and I splitting, and I was in that headspace where I was like, yeah, okay. And I did one, and I stopped, and I haven't done it since. So I used it for what I needed it for and moved on. I stayed with my best friend, or one of my best friends that I've met throughout life. Probably 3 weeks after me and Andrea split, before my dad came and picked me up. We went to her place, picked up the rest of my shit, and drove back home from North Carolina to Texas. I was 24 when that happened. You know, Uncle Larry passed away at 24. That was a death for me. Like, I'm pretty sure I actually passed away when that happened, but I don't think I passed away. I think that what fucking happened was, like, I am so determined not to leave this time, because every time I go to sleep, every time I take the rest in my past lives, shit, it's a fan! I can't go anywhere. I have to stay. And there's something in my subconscious that knows that so hard that even when I have, like, my skull was cracked open by a rock. Like, you know those trailer park rocks that they put on the side that are stupid giant to keep cars from going around the speed bumps? That's the rock my head hit that got the 4 staples in my head that I took a paper thin chunk off of. My subconscious knows I can't die. Not only I won't, but I can't. I don't have the choice. I don't get that choice. Because every time I sleep for too long, bad shit happens, because I create while I am resting, whether or not I realize it while I'm doing it. That's why Peter Pan needs stories at night. That's why Peter Pan needs bedtime stories, is so he can focus on something positive before he goes to sleep. So that's the thing. So I came back to Texas. Dad picked me up at 24 from the ex-wife's house. I stayed with him and my stepmom out in Paris, Texas, for 2 weeks before they came and dropped me off where I am now. Physically where I am now. This is my great-grandmother's home. This home was purchased the year my father was born, 1958. I am the 3rd generation born 30 years apart. This is where I'm going to get into the numbers for you, because I've pretty well brought you up to speed of me being in my house that I've been in for 12 years. Great-grandma willed this house to my father, my Uncle Jimmy, my brother, and myself. Now, for those of you that know mythology, or legends, or anything of that nature, what we're looking at is I arrived on a property that's not dilapidated but damaged by others, namely my brother. But also because of a lack of ability with my great grandma, given her age and medical conditions. She was like 98 when she passed away. We don't know when she was born. She was old enough that she didn't have a birthday. She didn't have a social security number. So some damage was caused by her. Some of the damage was caused by Aunt Pam, the one that was pushed out the window by my dad and my Uncle Jimmy. And Dad fixed a bit of it. Uncle Jim helped with some, but not as much as Dad. And my brother caused more damage. Some of the damage he caused was there were 3 walls in the bathroom. He was told to take out this one, and the pipes are all on this one wall. You've got the sink, the toilet, and the tub, and the pipes are all on this one wall. He was told to take out the one wall and replace some shit and put it back. Well, he ripped out all 3 walls. So when I moved in, that bathroom was framing. Here, let me show you. There was also the BBs in the windows. Ray had told Dad that kids were shooting it up from the alleyway, but BBs hit different than regular bullets, and those BBs were shot from inside the house. Okay? But this here bathroom, I fixed. Those walls I put in. I put in that. Because this was all framing. Okay? This was the first time I was left on a job alone. This is the first time I ever did anything. Dad told me what a hot patch is. I'll go over that in a second. Let's see, here we are. Hot patches are awesome. They are, you take a piece of green rock, you score. Here, let me, this, I'll just show you. But I fixed that. That bathroom was torn to bits. And if you can see this paint job, you see this paint job, that ceiling shit? My brother painted that. You want to see what I painted? Without tape? This. I painted that. So that may, somebody may be able to tell me, I painted this, I don't know where it came from. If it resonates, or if you get downloads, let me know. But yeah, this is, that's my paint job, okay? Compared to my brother's. But either way, I was left a home that was broken, like physically broken, which is what happened to whoever all the characters of Pan and Jesus and da-da-da-da-da, they come home to find out that effectively the character, for lack of better terms, Wally, please stop yelling. You want to come inside? Y'all been out a while. Inside time? No yell. Thank you. Good girl, Serby. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's another one for you. There's confirmation. I named my dog Serb because she's never going to have 3 heads. That's my Serby, Serb. And Wally. They are both rescues. But Serby is mine. I got to choose her. Y'all stay. Y'all stay. Daddy working. Excuse. Thank you. So, Loki is Jesus. Pan is Loki. Like, the list goes on. Apollo, whoever Apollo is in the other stories to Loki, whoever Apollo is, in the stories of, like, proper Pan. Here, yeah, get that eye color. Go ahead. So anyway, oh, 10%. That's a note. We're gonna go back in, grab my charger. So whoever Apollo is the one that caused all the damage to Earth, to our planet. Okay? And it's like it took me years of living and then another like 2 years of piecing shit together to figure out what all was going on. So Apollo damaged the Earth and left the character that is the Son of God to deal with it, to clean it up. And let me put that into perspective for you. In my video that I recorded first, because I'm doing this all in one day, fuck this shit. I also like to sleep or sit on my ass for 4 days out of the week and then like get 2 weeks worth of stuff done in a day. That is a proclivity of mine. I like sit and wait and think, and then when I go to do it, it's done. Like, I go to do the thing and it's already done. Like with the bathroom. It took me 2.5, 3 years to get around to it. It took me 2 weeks to get it done. Fucking Apollo left all the Jesus characters to deal with the mess. And Jesus is the baby. He's the baby of the family. Which is what I am. But apparently there's been a lot of running done. Running away has been the go-to answer in the past from what I'm gathering, looking over history. Because, like, let's take, how are we going to manage this? I got this. So, you've got Pangea, or as I sometimes like to have, like recently, I have started saying Pangaea. You're welcome, Q's Moana. Fuck their copyrights, I own the world. So anyway, fucking, running away. Running away has been the answer. You've got, Pangea that split. So whatever caused that split between the the American continent and the what we call the European, Asian, African continent, that was a split. That was running away. Something happened, something was created that caused a necessity strong enough to split land apart, okay? And I know this because it kept happening. You've got Madagascar that broke away from Africa. You've got Greenland, I believe, fits into Canada. Yeah, I've got a map right here, but we know what Pangea looked like. Now, if you take a look at all those splits, looking at a map, each one of those splits that isn't an already pre-existing natural lake was created to separate Pan from whatever was too much for him to handle. And he ran away. And that was one of my first steps, was not running away from a mess. Because, like my stepmom had taught me when I walked past that candy wrapper at 8 to 11 years old in the hallway at home in Rockwall, she told me to pick it up, and it wasn't a kind tone, and I was like, it's not mine. But it was an auto response, like it was almost too quick. And it wasn't mine, but still, it was almost too quick for me to be viewed as telling the truth. But her response was, it doesn't matter, you've walked past it, it's your responsibility now. Same goes for this house. Same goes for this world. It doesn't matter who messed it up. Thank you, confirmation. So one of my first steps was picking up the mess, fixing it, and keeping it. So I did. But by that point I was digging another hole because it was June. I was like, I had been here for a year and a half-ish, almost 2 years, and it was June. And my dad and I were talking on the phone, and then he just drops the ball at the end of the conversation talking about, oh, by the way, you got to cover taxes for this year. Well, I didn't know they were already fucking due. I'd never paid taxes in my life. I was barely, like, I was handing the ex-wife money for rent and bills. Like, I paid the power bill on my own and stuff, like, straight out of my pocket into the power account, but I wasn't paying the rent. The rent had, I handed her the rent, and she took care of that side, and I took care of food that was purchased with cash and not with food stamps, and because she had food stamps for her and her boys, and I took care of the power and the phone bill. And I handed her my portion of rent. So do I know about paying taxes on a house? So when I finally got around to going to start paying on them, they were delinquent. Because they were already delinquent in June when Dad told me. Which, legally, by all standpoints, and this is where we get into your tarot readings, okay? And make sure you're following all the way to the end before you start piecing together your cards on who's who. Dad was probator of the will. He did not probate. He was executor. But he did not probate. So legally, taxes are on them. By legal standpoint, the individual is required by law to cover the taxes on this property that I am sitting at, is first and foremost my father, and then the following legal heirs, which would be Aunt Pam, who's not listed in the will, and Uncle Jimmy, who didn't do a quarter of the shit that my father did for this property to make it better. And they weren't paying taxes. I did. And I got into a hole because they were already delinquent. And I was barely out of working at Sonic Drive-In at the time. And I tried my best for the brain that I have, and pretty well living on my own. I had roommates here and there on and off, But responsibility-wise, I was on my own. And I am so ADHD that to be on my own and still be here is... This house is my cookie. My house is my cookie for making it. Because they didn't pay taxes. I got behind enough to where county stepped in, house was foreclosed or being foreclosed on, family decided to sell to this guy, Jerry Caldwell. Okay? So it would have been stepmom's decision. Don't play me for a fool. That got dad to relinquish and say, okay, we'll sell. Which should have never happened. Because great-grandma, in that will that I have a copy of that states my name on this property that I'm sitting on, also states I had a $10,000 CD, bare minimum, that I've never seen. So the $8,000 that was owed when they were trying to foreclose on my house wouldn't have existed. Because how much would that CD have appreciated in value from, I believe, 94 or some shit-ish when great-grandma wrote that will? So, with receipts on paper, I was the one paying taxes on this property for 8 out of 10 years that I had been living here. All but one. 7 out of 10 years I had paid taxes on this property. Family decided to sell. Dad, Uncle Jim, and Aunt Pam signed the sell. Aunt Pam is no longer mentally capable of speaking on these things. So that's going to be fun. And then, now, this agreement to sell was on a verbal contingency that I purchase my great-grandmother's property that I've been a resident at for 10 years at the time. Legally, that's squatter's rights because I was the one paying taxes. I didn't sign these papers. I did, however, sign the contract that was drawn up after the sale for my purchase that stated I could purchase this property that I'm sitting at for such and such amount by such and such date, which was August 2nd of last year. This is where it gets fun, because I'm still sitting here, and I haven't purchased. I believe we're going to pause. And I will come back in about 5 to 10 minutes, because I'm telling you, I'm doing this. This is going to be done before I go to fuck to bed tonight. I love y'all very much.